Right, good afternoon, peoples of YouTubes. We're doing a little bit on the Metro now. Carrying on from the wiring where I left off, removing all the wiring and stripping it all down to their main components. So I'll just run you through what I've done off camera, and then we'll get on and put a plan together on what we will do in this video. So roll the intro and I'll explain. Right, as you can see on the bench here, I've got all the wires in place where I need them to be. Back where I've obviously stripped down all the wires to components, I've plugged them all in to where they need to go. Blah de blah de blah. And then we've got all the alternator and oil stuff in here. Plugged it all in, joined it up, routed it all to where I need it to go. And this is what we're left with basically. So some wires we might need to lengthen and some wires we might need to shorten. The only wires that I am restricted on is the cam sensor and the O2 sensor, because I've got a shielded wire which is terminated just here. So one's a cam and one's the O2 sensor. So as you can see, I've laid it all out and I've drawn on the desk what they all do, where they need to end up, where the joins are going to be. And then what we'll need to do is pick it all apart from the cable ties, lay it all out, and then we're going to start by probably putting some kind of braided protective sleeve on it. But as you can see, we've got a couple of casualties. So we'll cut these plugs off, we'll clean the wires up, we'll repin them, replug them. You can see them there, look. Repin and replug them. I've got various amounts of new plugs underneath all this. So I've got a new ECU plug, couple of these timer or timmer plugs, and then we've got some Seal plugs, which is what most of these plugs are. So that's that out of the way, and then we move on to this. I managed to get hold of a Rover 45/ZS 1.8 ECU holder, which then allowed me to mount that inside the car, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But yeah, I've started already by getting all these wires in nicely to where they need to be, and I've got a new, well, I say new, again I've got a ECU plug which I took off the same Rover 45ZS with a length of wire, so that I didn't have any joins going to the plugs, because this is the one that came out of it. So we've got loads of heat shrink joins, and that is just a big mess with wires coming out here, there and everywhere. So that is the spaghetti mess that can go into the bin. Again, if I put this back on here, flip it over, I've got new Seal plug there, new Seal plug there. You still get hold of these. All new pins on there as well. I think there's a couple of pins that I didn't need to do. I just took it out of the old plug because they are the right size. I think it's just that big thick white and red wire there. I think there's another one, I think that green one there was the old one that we just cleaned up and put on, because that was all in good condition. That won't get braided, that will be just in some nice loom tape, because that's all being inside the vehicle. And then we can lay that there, and you can see where the ECU bit is there, and we can plug that in, and we can get our lengths of wire in the right way, if that all makes sense. So that's where I'm up to at the minute. We'll just go to the car and I'll explain to you what I've done in there. Right, back over to the car. I've got all this pulled through for the headlights, indicator. That's the old headlight leveling system, which we ain't going to use, but we're just going to keep it in there anyway. And we've got some earths. So I've had to deep-in all them plugs to get a new grommet in there, because the old grommet was absolutely foobar. I don't even know where it is, to be honest with you. Ah, that's in here. But this is the old grommet, where, yeah, trying to push wires through it and then just split it all. So that's all nice in there. Just got to cable tie that back into place, and I've got some pushed cable ties to fit in there. What else have I done? Removed the fuel return pipe, because that's got a regulator on there, and then we just blanked off of this end instead of having it all around here. So that's done. And I got rid of there's like a hydro gas line that isn't even used anymore, that I've just cut underneath, and I'll remove that fully later on. But I cut that out of the way purely for this hole here. So this is where all the wires are going to go in for the ECU. Well, that's where I've laid it all into, and we'll have the same grommet as that. I've got an old MGF wiring harness, so we can rub a grommet off that, and we'll slide that on before we terminate any of the wires. And literally, yes, all the wires are going to come down here, round the back, and then it's going to snake all the way over there and into there. And about here, we're going to stick a bulkhead fitting for the battery cable. So from the alternator, that's going to go to there. From the starter, that's going to go to there. And then on the other side, we can then trace our wire back. Brand new positive lead to go all the way back to the boot of the battery. Proper size as well, not old, almost bell cable wire. What this is, there's always been slow turning over, and I'm going to assume because it can't carry the current through that wire. So we're going to do all that properly. In here we've got the rest of the cables pulled through. So we've got the body plug. That is for the fan power, for the fan, which is another thing I need to sort out. This relay here, which normally goes on the passenger side wing, that's for horn. I'm not going to bother wiring in a horn, but I have left it on there with the tail just heat shrunk up out the way there, just in case we might need to use it for something. So I've left it in there. We can easily adapt it to whatever we need to use it for. Again, we've got a fan harness to go in as well, so I need to sort that out, and that'll probably go through that bulkhead there as well. And then we've got our main power cables here, which goes onto this block here, and then that will go, that end there will go onto our bulkhead fitting, which will come roughly around about there somewhere. And
I've mounted the holder for this. This is broken at the minute. You see all they're broken. You can still get the outer casings of these, which I've purchased off Rimmer Brothers. So that will be here quite soon, but that will go there out of the way. Again, easy access. And then you can probably see got a riv nut there and a couple of riv nuts here, and that's where the ECU and all the electrics are going to be housed. So it's easy access, out of the way of any water, rain or whatever, and we're going to seal this up properly so it don't leak. Yeah, the only concern that I've got is passengers. They're going to be tempted to use it as a footrest, so we might have to get like a rally style co-pilot's footrest to go in front of that, but we'll come across that when we come across it. And that is pretty much where we're up to at the minute. So yeah, I'm just gonna crack on and sort out the rest of the wiring, start pulling that apart, and start braiding that and getting that all nice and neat. And I'm not going to show too much of it. I might show a couple of snippets of making some, or terminating some plugs on, and some braiding. But yeah, just going to get on and get it done because time is pressing on. Oh yeah, another thing is we've got the old radio wiring here, so we've got the speaker cables here. We've got an earth, we've got I think that's a permanent live, and the green one is ignition, but that could be the other way around. And then we've got a side light feed for illumination, I guess, for the radio. But what my plan is to get is I've got some douche connectors, so we'll stick this in and then we'll just loop it over. So if I've got an 8-pole douche connector, I can then stick it in, and that'll give me 4 permanents and 4 ignitions in, and then I can just add and take away as and when I need, really. They are only just going to be 4 accessories, low power stuff, because as you can see that's not really designed for like anything high current, but it's just going to be so it's a signal to switch on a relay or something like that. So nothing's going to be too high current, and as I say, we're going to have a battery isolation here anyway, so if I need anything a little bit thicker then we can come off that. But yeah, right, let's get back to the bench and sort some wires out and start putting this harness together. Right, so I've made a start in sorting out this wiring. So we've got it in some nice braid and heat shrink. We've got a brand new plug on there with some pins, and I've cleaned up all the wires, heat shrunk that. I've used the old plug and connector for the oil pressure, purely because I can't find them anywhere. I'm sure they are available, but I can't find that exact one, and there's nothing wrong with that anyway, so we'll use that. So now I'm on to my oil temperature, which is this one here. You can see the wires are all mangled up in there, and we've got some rudimental sheathing on there. It's gone really hard and brittle. So what I'll end up doing is we'll cut the wires here, so I know which colour goes to what pin. I've got it all written down as well. I've got a new plug, which this one is a timer black female, code 3. So the codes mean like where that is positioned. If you can see that. I think code 2, there's 2 of them, and code 1 is in the middle, I believe. New pins, new weather seals. Yeah, so I'll get you set up on a little time lapse
and we can go through and get this one in and get this one where that needs to go. And see how it goes in there, that'll go in there. So we'll terminate the new pin and the new plug, we'll heat shrink it, we'll braid it, and then we'll get the bit of braid that goes up to here to the next point, which is going to be the crank sensor, which is there. So now I know roughly where I am and what I'm doing, I've got a rhythm going, I can show you this one. Right, that's all sorted to effect. See all that? That's adhesive lined heat shrink, so that helps bite into the braided line to help secure it in place. As you saw, I put the wrong terminals on to begin with. If I can find it. It should have these type terminals in it. And I put these type terminals in it. But I thought on here, timer socket, junior timer socket, which is what these are. I'll say that. Timer black. It's not that one. Yeah, and that's the alternator one, which is the SLK Mercedes one. So yeah, it says here. Yeah, so I think I might need to order some more of these, because I thought that these style ones go into the timer style plugs, as I say, timer socket. So I think I'm going to quickly run out of these, and also the white weather guards. I only ordered like 6 or 7 of them, and I bought all these ones, but none of these seems to be the right size. So I think I might have to get some more of them white weather guards, and some more of these pins for the other plugs. So yeah, don't know where I've gone wrong there, but I've gone wrong there somewhere. So I will order some more of them. I'm literally now going to just get this crank sensor in place, and then get that braided up to this next point, and then I'm going to call it a day, because yeah, this is going to be the reason why that is short is because that's a joint in the wiring loom. There's probably like 5 or 6 of these with the sensors. I think that is a power, like 5-volt power or 5-volt earth or something like that, and that goes into these on this relay box here. If I can, yeah, there you go, you can see the type of connection that is. So we'll redo all them anyway. There's another one there, so we'll redo all them anyway. But yeah, I'm going to crack on. I'm going to get the rest of this loom done. It's probably going to take me the best part of 3 or 4 days, and I'm going to have to wait for them extra connectors now. So once that is all done, I will come back to you, and then we can hang it on the car and see where we are at. Right, we'll catch you in a bit. Right, give you a quick close-up view. So I've terminated there for now. Need to put a ring terminal on there for the bulkhead connector for the positive. This here is majorly out. I don't know why. The loom must have slid across or something when I was doing it and got that wrong. But I think we've got plenty of play. As you can see, it don't matter if it's there like that or there like that, the plug will still reach to that point. So, and again, we've got plenty of slack here where it joins into the around the back of the engine. You get some cable ties with some like 6mm clips that goes into like 6mm holes to hold it all in place. So we've got plenty of slack there. I tried not to make it too tight, just purely so we, as I say, I've got some slack that will go where we need it to go. It's not going to be factory, so we're going to try and pick up as much of the factory positions as we possibly can, but it's not going to be like a factory thing. Right, so the next thing that we need to do now, this sort of ends here, is we need to do the same as what we did on this end onto these little trees, and then we'll get all these joined up, and then we'll get another bit of heat shrink over all this, and then join it in through there, and then that'll be a case of joining our browns and yellows, almost like a splice connector, shall we say. So they're all bared up and they've got a lot of a crimp that crimps them all together, and then they just put a bit of heat shrink around them. You'll probably see one just here, look, a little bit of clear heat shrink on this one, but it's just a little crimp in there, crimp them all together, and then they heat shrink them up. So yeah, we'll have a few sensors from this that will go into here, so we'll make one connection there with a wire that goes all the way back to all this sort of stuff, but we might cut most of this down and shorten that because that goes into the back of there, and our ECU plug goes into here somewhere. So yeah, we'll come across that bridge when we come across it. So now I'm going to order up some more connectors, or some more pins I should say, and some weather seals, and we'll get back to doing this in the next couple of days. But you'll see me when it's all completed and we're all ready to go back onto the car. Right, so I've got the loom pretty much where I want it to be. I'll get it out on the bench again because we still need to terminate the ends into the ECU. But we've got a nice little bulkhead grommet there. And we've sort of like finished the loom up to that point. So I've just laid it in the car just to make sure I'm happy with all the lengths and stuff like that. Got a few sensors plugged in. Idle air control valve, throttle position sensor, cam. We got the air intake temperature sensor, which will go into the charge cooler, and then we've got our two temperature sensors for the coolant, which will go down under there. They're a little bit long, but we can tie them out of the way. It's better to be long than short. I've got this piece here which goes obviously all the way underneath down to the alternator. Again, that's a fairly long piece there, and then we've got the crankshaft sensor there, but that will go down into the loom down there. O2 sensor, that obviously goes onto that bracket there, and then this terminal here will go into my bulkhead positive connector. Starter inhibitor wire, we've got that put in. The only thing is I miscalculated a little bit is the length of the injector wiring harness, or where it meets into the loom. This bit here, which controls all the intake stuff and cam stuff, I think that joint there should have been more up here, but I didn't have it on the bench properly and I miscalculated that. But I'm more than happy with how it all fits, and it's a lot tighter than what it was. So we're just going to pull it all back out again and start laying it up back onto the bench and start terminating some of the ends. We will have to extend some wires, we will have to cut some wires down, but yeah, we'll just carry on and go from there. I just wanted to get it into the car just to make sure that everything fits where it needs to fit. But then you see that injector loom just hangs down slightly, or this bit here is just a little bit, not tight, but stretched compared to the rest of it. So, and because I used the adhesive lined heat shrink, that stuff don't like to bend. So yeah, that's like quite rigid. So when we get it into the car, we might just have to throw the old hot air gun onto that heat shrink just to soften it up a bit, and then we can chuck some bends in it to make it go where it needs to go. Right, let's get it all out again, and we will continue on. Right, so just back on the bench here, I've laid it out. So I've got where I wanted to put this thing. This is just a fly lead to the start motor, so that's the start motor power, and that'll come straight from the bulkhead connector. And you see what I mean here by where I was meant to put another one into here, but I made it down there. But this was meant to go into here, and then go into the same thing. But I thought again, being that that's down here, that would give me a bit more wiggle room, but obviously it didn't, which
messed with my plans a little bit. You see that's meant to be up there, where that point is there. And then these go all the way over here. Again, this stuff is like quite stiff because there's adhesive lined ones. So I've got the adhesive lined ones, so it bites into the braid a little bit better. But this is the first loom that I've done in this way. So you learn from your mistakes, but it's still more than good enough for the little metro. And again, it's like this bit here, I miscalculated because I had the loom over here like this. Yeah, that ended up being there, but that will still reach where it needs to reach, which is good. And then obviously we've got the other end here. So next plan is here. You can see where I've got the ECU bit there. So the only two cables that we won't be changing are these two, because they're shielded cables. So they'll need to go into the plugs first, and then we'll adapt the rest of it, shorten or lengthen the other ones to go in to that. And then we've got things like this one here, which is the start inhibitor, which needs to be joined up to this one here. And then we've got all our, not that one, but there is this is the main power that goes to that little fuse box that I got. We'll cut that out because we will run a different cable to another fuse box which I've got going on. But these two brown and pink wires here, it's a little bit messy at the minute, but we'll sort that out. These two will get joined in together, and there's a brown and pink wire here. So that gives all the lives to the various sensors and whatnot. I think there's a load of pink and black wires that needs to be joined together, but I think some of them join in and some don't join in, so we'll need to figure out which do what. But as you can see, all the lengths are completely different, so we might have to lengthen and shorten some cables. Yeah, I can't remember where that one goes now, but that's the inhibitor switch. So when you roll the car over, that then stops the fuel. So we'll just, instead of using that cable there, we'll just use that cable there. Right, so let me get on and do that, and then we can hopefully, I'll come back to you when that is all sorted and we've got all our systems together, so we can put it in the car and hopefully start it. Right, wiring is almost complete. As you can see, we're at the car, which means the wiring's not on the bench. So I'll just walk you through. As you can probably see, we've got the nice bulkhead grommet going through there on the right, and on the left the big red thing is our positive pass-through. So we can have a positive cable either side of the bulkhead without touching. Yeah, we've got all our stuff in now. There's still some things that need to be tied up. This one here for the coolant temperature sensors, I made a little bit too long, but better to be long than too short, so that will just be out of the way. But once we've got everything in place, then you know, we can sort things out. The annoying thing is the O2 sensor is just a little bit too short, so it won't go on the clip on the bracket there. So we might, you can see that it's all rubbing and touching against the screener pipe anyway, where it's been not welded in, well, I won't say the incorrect place, but no thought has really been put into it. So for the meantime, I think I'm just going to extend these wires here, just so that fits in nicely. And obviously we've got our intake air temperature sensor, which goes into the charge cooler, which sits about here. Again, I made that a little bit longer just in case we need to, or we decide to go for a bigger charge cooler and end up being over here somewhere.
So yeah, that's that. Injector plug is down in there now. I've routed that a little bit differently, so it's a little bit more nicer, like that. And then obviously we got all our throttle position sensor, cam sensor, and our idle air control valve all connected up. And then we've got this big cable here which goes all the way down, follows this water pipe. Basically it clips onto that. It isn't clipped on at the minute, so I want to change this water pipe for a TF1 because we've taken the heater out, and we've got all this. Let me zoom you out a little bit more. We've got all this rubber hose here. I've just connected that back together. But if we get the TF1, that will then cancel out these hoses, and you'll get another metal hose which ends about here. So then all I've got to do is just literally join that on to that metal pipe down there somewhere. And then all the rest of this will be redundant. So yeah, but I am going to have to break the water system on that, and I don't want to do that yet until I've finished messing around underneath, because I don't want to be laying in water. So yeah, that other cable goes all the way around, and then if I can hopefully show you, I don't think I'll be able to if I put the torch on. You can probably just see the black cable that goes underneath the crank pulley, and that feeds the oil pressure sensors and also the back of the alternator. So that's that, and that's all been put into the metal thing that bolts onto the engine as well, so that all holds in there nicely. And again, I've left that power cable a little bit longer than what I normally would. Hang on if I can get you in there a little bit. But yeah, you can see this cable here, and that will come up at the minute. That's sort of rubbing on the drive shaft, but that will get clipped up against the metal water pipes when they when I go to fit them. So what else have we done? Can't remember, but I've wrapped their headlights, but I am going to have to unwrap it because I want to put another wire in there for the fan, because I've done the fan a little bit differently to what I was planning on doing. So we'll run another big cable in for the fan, and that will come somewhere down here, and then we've got our fan cable here, which I'm going to have to look at, because I think that's been rubbing and melting on the exhaust, so we're going to have to whip the fan off anyway. But that won't stop us from testing the car. Yeah, so we'll need to put a power and an earth. The power will go into a plug here somewhere, and the earth will join up to these earths here, and obviously we've got another earth here for the engine, so they'll go in that chassis rail somewhere, and then that'll go, the power will go all the way up into here and into that grommet there, and then we'll retape that back up again. So it's a bit annoying that I'm going to have to undress all this tape to do it, but I'd rather get it done and get it done properly. It's just sod's law that I've made a decision to change something later down the line. Right, let's go inside the car. Right, this is where I've mounted the ECU. So you can see where it comes through the bulkhead, all the wires for the engine. We still need to tidy that up. They're just cable tied together in their groups, just so I know where everything fits, but we will be taping all that up later on down the line. Obviously we got our main fuse mount there, and again our positive battery cable will go onto there, and that will go all the way into the boot, onto the battery. What else have we got on here? We've got our fan relay here, and that goes into, I've got quite a lot of stuff under here, but we've got a fan relay here, and then we've got that green wire which is our positive, which then goes into that. Hang on, you can't even see, I'm talking and you can't even see, look. Right, so we've got our fan relay, and then we've got this green cable here which is our positive, and this is a positive feed from the fuse box up there. So I've put in the output for the fan is that brown wire there, and then we're going to bring it out of here, and then we're going to follow this purple wire all the way down into this main loom, and then that's going to go out to that grommet there, which is all the headlight wiring. So yeah, we'll do that. And then obviously we have got our horn relay here, which I've left in just in case. That'll just tuck under there somewhere, and when we tape all this up, we'll put some sort of securing device in there, so it'll all rattle around. And then we've got the body plug here, so this is all the wires from the body, so the main lives, oil pressure, temperature for the gauge and all that sort of jazz. That all goes into there and then goes into the small plug of the MEMS 3 ECU. What else have we got? Just move you around here. If I move you over to here, you might be able to see a little bit better. Right, so here we've got all our earths for the ECU. Again, our main lives into all these, and then we've got our main live for the MFU, which is the big relay box which controls your start, fan, and all the ECU stuff, all the big heavy gauge wire that goes into the ECU. Yeah, that is it. And then I've got this cable here, which was just spliced into one of these brown and pink wires, which is a I'm not sure if it's an ignition live or if it's just a live, but it comes off the MFU anyway, and it just had a fuse in it. So my plan is to have another connector here, and then we'll splice into this loom somewhere here, put another connector in, and then that's going to go round the back. So yeah, we'll put another connector in here and then trail it into this body harness here, and there is a few other plugs behind the ECU. As I say, I've got that fan one there, and then we've got all the main ones up here that just all goes around the back of the ECU. But that purple wire there on that grey plug is the main ignition source, ignition live. I think it's ignition live. I'm going to have to double check out whether it's a permanent live or ignition live, to wake the ECU up. But yeah, we'll put another plug onto there, and then we'll trail it all into this body harness, and then we will bring it all the way down in this harness here, and then I'm going to have the battery amount somewhere around here, but also I have got another fuse and relay box to go in somewhere, which will house the fuel pump relay, and also the fuse for the ECU, and all the charge cooler stuff is going to be mounted in the back, so that will all have its own relay and fuse and stuff like that in that box. So yeah, that is about it. we're literally just tying up loose ends at the minute. Still need to do something with that old radio wiring. So we'll get on and do that as well in the next episode, I think. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here for this episode. I think that's enough to keep you going on to the updated part of the wiring. So yeah, that is the main bulk of it anyway. We just need to tidy it up a little bit more and get it all wrapped up ready, but I don't want to wrap it up until we can start it, because the last thing I want to do is start unwrapping it again to fix something that isn't quite right. So yeah, I will leave it at this episode, and then the next episode we'll do the battery, we'll do the other fuse box, and we'll probably get the dash in and then see what we need to do to get it started, and hopefully get it started in the next episode. Let me just double check everything on here. We don't need a charge cooler to start it, so that is all good. Yeah, I might just wire in the fan all these earths. Don't need these earths, we'll need this earth. So I might tidy up all that earth stuff. I might get the main power for the fan ran in, just so that we've got it. And then we need to sort out all this fuel regulator stuff. And also I need to think about is the boost controller solenoid, which goes down here somewhere for the thing. I'll end up putting it down there, but we still need to run all the wires for the boost controller and for the air fuel ratio gauge thing, lambda gauge, whatever you call it. Can't remember what you call them now, but yeah, we've got to still sort that out. So again, I'm waffling. We will leave it here at this episode, and then hopefully we can tie up all the loose ends ready for next episode and get it started. So we will see you in the next one.